Let's go. It's time. Put on play pants.
All right, and away we go. It's a special Halloween. Halloween edition of the Play Pants Podcast, episode 666.
You have the worst sound effects ever over there.
At least I got one. I got
guess-
one.
I could get over there and look. I'm sure I got something on that stupid board of mine.
The Play Pants Podcast available on YouTube, everywhere you download your podcast. Brought to you by the Rod Ryan Show Care Store. Get your squeezy boobs and all good T-shirts and all the goodies at the Rod Ryan Show page at thebuzz.com. And brought to you by Pirates of the Quarter Tours. Make sure when you go to New Orleans, and you're gonna go to New Orleans, to take that pirate tour. piratesofthequarter.com. Rod Ryan, Jason Ginty, and away we go. Dude, we got a lot to cover today. A lot of Halloween stuff. I want to throw a little curveball at you. Here in a second, but I know you're excited, as is all of Houston, maybe only Houston. The Astros getting in the World Series.
Well, there's a couple of states, apparently, when you look at like what the hashtag, so for the H is the hashtag, which means you're an Astros fan, and then whatever the fucking Phillies are using. So all of Texas is rooting for the Astros, Louisiana, Mississippi, and possibly Oklahoma. And then the rest of the world is all on board for the Phillies. The Phillies haven't been there in a long, long time. So there's a couple of things that come into play here. People still upset about shit from a couple of years ago with the Astros. Obviously, we're still we're still crushing and winning and not fucking cheating. Right. But the Phillies haven't been there in a long, long time. So I think a lot of people are excited about that. But yeah, World Series, dude. Game 1 is Friday here. Game 2 is Saturday here, travel day. So yeah, World Series is fun, man. When it's in your hometown, man, it is badass. Is it like the Super Bowl? The Super Bowl is one game, you know?
Right.
So the leading up to that is ridiculous. I mean, it's so awesome when the Super Bowl is in your town, but 9 times out of 10, when the Super Bowl is in your town, your team's not in it. The thing about the World Series is those are home games, you know, so it's pretty badass. So there are some parties. There's a lot of celebrities in town, and it's fun, man. And the Astros, I think we got a really good shot of winning it all. It's fun right now. I mean, the pitching, this team is so fucking complete and awesome. And I know you're not a big baseball guy. You know, I grew up a huge Yankee fan really young, and then it just got away from me. You and I, we talked about this. We didn't have baseball in our hometown, and it took me coming here, and then just kind of, you got to learn, you know, like I watched it as a kid. I didn't know exactly what was going on. But then when you start learning baseball and you start learning the chess match, and then you are interested in every pitch, dude. You're interested in every pitch. That's what's pretty badass about it.
Well, because in the World Series, it really, really counts. I mean, you play 162 games, I guess, 164 games during the regular season. Yeah, you miss a couple, you scuff a few balls along the way. It doesn't matter. But in this shit, it's every movement, every chess piece really matters in a game like this. And like, as a baseball non-super fan, I'll chime in on the World Series. Like, I'll watch, NBA finals. I'll watch the college finals. Because it's a championship. It's the best of the best. And I'm like, okay, maybe this will get me into baseball. It won't, but at least I'll try. And I'll be rooting for Houston.
Yeah. I mean, game 1, dude, Justin Verlander. I know you know who that is. I mean, his wife's Kate Upton. There's some pretty big names. I mean, a lot of these Astros are now big names in Major League Baseball. I mean, Jose Altuve and Bregman. These are these are legitimate superstars now in the league. And then, of course, like the most handsome man on the planet, Bryce Harper, is on the Phillies. So, I mean, there's some marquee names here. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. So, it's super exciting. I mean, full disclosure, I didn't go to any games this year. First time in I don't know how long. Yeah, it's been a fucking weird year. I'll leave it at that. One of these days we'll talk. You know what I mean? One of these days we'll talk. But it's been a weird year. So am I going to any World Series games? Well, Friday and Saturday I cannot go. Got some, the kid, Halloween party. Sis is coming in town.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's some of that going on. But if it needs to come back here, I'm going to weasel my way in. And the cheapest ticket, standing room only, right now is going for like $650.
Oh my God.
Dude, you hear me, right? To stand. Now,
where the hell are you standing there?
So you're just roaming around in the halls and you're 10 and 15 and 20 people back from seeing. It's people paying $600. Now there are, if you get in there and you're super aggressive and you're a crazy person and you work with a team, you get up against, but I mean, getting up against the railing somewhere, it is like the worst Black Friday sale you've ever seen in your life. You know, as soon as doors open, people go. If you have those standing room only tickets, if you don't get there super early, you're 20, 25 people back.
Oh my God.
But you're at the World Series.
Yeah.
You know,
pretty big. It's a party.
Now, Philadelphia hasn't been there in such a long time. Standing room only in Philly, those are going for $900 right now. So,
wow.
I mean, it's just like we talk about with the Super Bowl, man. It's a rich man's game. It's a rich woman's game. You really got to have some dough to go, and the amount of money that they're making. Now, keep in mind, if you've got season tickets, then you just kind of roll along. But they're going to charge you a premium. And it's tempting. A lot of people sell their tickets because it's so tempting. Because you can make your whole season back by selling a couple of World Series tickets.
Well, I know when I had Saints season tickets for like 5 years, and the 1 year I had, we went to the NFC Championship, and I'm looking at the value of these tickets, and I'm holding them in my hand. I'm like, we could pay for our whole season if we sell these.
Yep.
But then it's the NFC Championship game for the Saints, who had never been, and I'm like, fuck. You know what? The money comes and goes. That experience is forever. Especially if they win. It's going to be, and they ended up winning, and it was like, holy shit, so glad that we didn't sell the tickets and all that stuff. But yeah, that's it. That's always that weird, what do you do? But the experience, it's why you got the damn tickets. You go to those games in like freaking June, you're like, why am I here? It's me and the Flies and a couple of hot dog eaters. That's it. Now it's like, holy shit. The standing room only, and we've talked about this, I think briefly, with the Bills. If the Bills go to the Super Bowl, and I know that's a big hypothetical, a big if, but so far so good. I've mentioned to a bunch of different people, like, I want to go back to Buffalo and fucking party with everyone in Buffalo and watch the game at some big bar or something, just to be in the scene in Buffalo if the Bills would win the Super Bowl. The chaos. Now, I know you mentioned going to the game.
Arizona, February 12th.
Man, I tell you, I almost want to be in Buffalo, because I stayed in New Orleans when the Saints won that year, and I was in the French Quarter. That was an experience I will never forget. Like, that was awesome. People just hugging and just freaking crying. It was I mean, not one dumpster got lit on fire. That's not how we did it down here in New Orleans. You know what I mean? It was cool.
Well, but the French Quarter is different because it's so centralized and it's so condensed, and you knew that everybody was going to be there.
Right.
In Buffalo, where is everybody going to be? You could probably find some bars and you could probably find some areas, but nothing is going to be as condensed as the French Quarter was. So that was a smart play to go down there. I don't know what my play is yet, obviously with work and everything else. If the Bills go to the Super Bowl, February 12, 2023, I'm looking at it, Glendale, Arizona. I really, really feel like I need to be there.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to be there, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't want to just assume that they're going either.
No, because we've assumed that the last couple of years and it hasn't quite worked out. Also on the podcast today, we're going to talk about a lot of Halloween stuff, candy, and we're going to do it, man, because we actually had a couple of suggestions through our social medias and other places. You guys should do top 5 favorite scary Halloween-ish movies. So I think that's an obvious. So I think we got to do that. And then it's going to be a long conversation because there's a lot of different side movies and other little things I want to dive into as well. But I also wanted to do this, Rod. And I was thinking about the other day, and someone actually brought this up to me, like, because I've interviewed a lot of people over the years through the radio station, and I know you have. And I know for me, and I know that your process is probably even more than mine because you've done it so often, is like, the key to a good interview is preparation, do your research, and then just have everything there in your wheelhouse to ask the questions. You know what I mean? Like you have obviously a few questions ready to go, but it's just having a lot of info about that person so that if they bring something up, you've got it in your Rolodex, your mental Rolodex. So somebody asked me this crazy question. I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. That's one of those deep, you got to think for a minute things. So I'm going to throw it at you because you've interviewed a lot of, like Bono. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that. You know what I mean? You said what, Chris Martin recently from Coldplay,
yeah,
right?
Chris Martin, Coldplay. Just talked to Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers. So, I mean, just recently, but yeah, I mean, we've been doing this a long time. So, a lot of interviews.
So I wanted to throw this at you because, people like when we go behind the scenes and get in the weeds of the radio situation. You know what I mean? So that's I kind of some of this prep. So, okay. And I know you got to go with me for a second. Through technology or whatever, a rock star or movie star, and you can throw in president or anyone who's super famous that's dead or alive. Okay. That old question. You got 10 minutes exactly. You got 10 minutes. You can ask them anything you want, but the interview is obviously going to be published. You're the only person that gets this 10 minutes with this dead celebrity, rock star, whatever. You got 10 minutes. The whole world's going to be watching it. So you can't fuck it up.
I like the pressure. I work well under the pressure of that. I'm down for this.
Okay, so who's it gonna be?
Wow.
I mean, it's a once in a never time. You know what I mean? Once in a lifetime situation. But like, if it's the old same question. If you could have lunch with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like it's that question. But there's a couple other things I want to throw on top of it as we go. So you got that one shot. I
gotta say, I think it's pretty easy. And obviously we're interviewing a celebrity,
right.
I mean, it just popped right into my head and I'm just trying to put in my mind other people against them. And I can't think of anybody that would be more intriguing. I mean, Elvis Presley has to be absolutely, for me, I've said before on this podcast, we grew up in Elvis house. It's unbelievable the influence of your parents on you, and then I've talked about the amazing influence of my sister, just 3 years older than me. The benefit of having those people like introduce you to music and things. But Elvis, we were an Elvis household. We were not a Beatles household. And Elvis was just the biggest thing ever. So to get to talk to Elvis, because he kind of talked a little bit, I was thinking like, Kurt Cobain ain't going to tell you shit.
He's going to,
let's just, you know what I mean? He's just going to mumble around. I mean, any interview that I saw of Kurt Cobain, I never thought was amazing. I never like Kurt Loder. There's just not a lot of great interviews where he gave you a lot of great content. So I'm assuming that we're interviewing the person, kind of how they were. Elvis, I feel like would be amazing. I really do. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger for me. It just musically, celebrity wise, right. I don't think it gets any bigger for me. I mean, I grew up being an Evel Knievel fan. The biggest thing in my life was Evel Knievel, Evel Knievel and Kiss and the $6 Million Man. Those are the three biggest things. If you ask if you ask me as a little kid, you ask 7-year-old Rodney Ryan, and that's it, man. That's the world right there. And I did get a chance to talk to Evel Knievel, and he was a fucking fruitcake.
He's nuts. He's nuts.
He was crazy. Like he was just talking about sitting in heaven next to Billy Graham, and he was just saying such nonsensical things. I had a chance to talk to my absolute idol, and it just didn't go well. And I guess I would always put some of it on me, but he stunk. So,
well, it's the Elvis, old never meet your heroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
That kind of thing.
Elvis is a pretty easy answer. I mean, are you going through this exercise as well?
Yeah, I've gone around and around about 500. I've had longer time to think about it. So I've let
Can I guess one that I think you would maybe choose?
Huh. Yeah, go for it, dude. That sounds cool.
I think that if it's not your number one, it's got to be in your top 5 would be Jim Morrison. For some reason, you have some fascination with Jim Morrison and the Doors.
Yeah, I think I would. And okay, well then I'll follow it up with the next part of the thing because makes it really hard. Yeah, he would be in the top probably 5. Yeah, absolutely. Because just what the fuck were you thinking? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like what was gonna happen? Like you moved to Paris, okay? What was gonna be next? Was it gonna be more music? You know what I mean? Like all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like you wanted to find out what was next. So okay,
Right.
Let's go back. So Elvis, it is. You got 10 whole minutes, which by the way, 10 minutes goes fast. Okay, you got 10 minutes. What's the first 2 questions you want to ask Elvis Presley? This is great. I love this, man. This is great.
Question number 1. My uncle Stan said you never had to peel any potatoes or never pulled night watch when he was stationed with you in Germany. Did you peel potatoes and did you pull an all-night watch at all when you were stationed in Germany? Because my uncle Stan swears you didn't do shit. I think it would be a good opener.
But you see what? You know what that does? That just gave you 10 more minutes because Elvis is going to laugh his ass off, okay? And he's going to be like, that is not what I expected someone to ask me as the first questions.
That's the first thing out of my face. If you've heard this podcast before, you know that my uncle was stationed and I have the picture of Elvis and Sparky, my blind grandfather, at a bar in Germany. So, I mean, we grew up. Every time Elvis was mentioned, my Uncle Stan could not wait to tell us what that son of a bitch didn't do anything while he was on the same base.
Well, you've already got something right there that is going to blow his mind right out of the gate. You know,
he would not expect that.
And then after that, you can ask him anything. I mean, literally, he would probably answer because he would just laugh for the first 10 minutes at how crazy that is. You know what I mean? So what's a follow-up question? Like something you really got to know about Elvis that we don't already know. You know?
Yeah, like we do know a ton about him.
You know, that's where it gets weird.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be that guy that asks a question that everybody already knows the answer to.
What don't we know about Elvis? I mean,
it's tough with a movie that just came out too, you know, now where it's all kind of more fresh and we kind of know more. Or we think we do anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, we don't know. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but I mean, wonder if he ever shit himself. Like when he was, you know, as an adult, did you ever shit yourself, Elvis?
The drugs, you know, he did. They were fucking they were shoveling shit out of that guy's ass every night before he propped him up on Vegas.
You know who talks about that? Artie Lang. Have you ever heard him talk about his days? I mean, he's so open. Comedian Artie Lang, who spent a lot of time on the Howard Stern show. He is so unbelievably open and candid about his drug usage, everything he's done. And that's one of the things that comes along with like doing a ton of drugs. You shit yourself. Artie Lang shit his pants on stage, like during stand-up. He shit himself.
Just because you're so like loose.
Yeah. That's a tough one. I definitely would use the Uncle Stan as the opener. And then I would be like, okay, let's get into it. And, you know, could you ever possibly be prepared for what happened to you? You know, it's not.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people will say, hey, you know, I always wanted to be a star, but, you know, is there anything that you could have done differently to prepare yourself for the life that you had? Just because I don't imagine that being a great life, being so famous. It's one thing to be famous and you really can't even go to Costco anymore. But Elvis just became a prisoner. And Michael Jackson, you know, these people that were just so unbelievably huge, you're a prisoner, you know? Yeah.
Well, there was no handbook back then either. He was inventing it as he went. It's not nowadays. Okay, there's things, you got PR people, you can hire a bunch of security. There's ways to do it. Back then, it was unheard of, really. You know, nobody knew what it was. He didn't know how to handle that. And he was a freaking country bumpkin from Mississippi or some shit.
Yeah.
So his education wasn't exactly super either. So, I mean, I don't know. We're talking about Elvis again. I didn't mean to do that, but.
Wait. Who is your number one?
I went way off the rails when I was thinking about it. It wasn't even like a rock star. I was going old school. You know,
fucking Nietzsche?
No, Benjamin Franklin.
Really?
I know, how lame and how nerdy, right? But that guy did so many things. I'm like, well, what about this? Well, what was it like talking to Thomas Jefferson when you guys were writing the Declaration of Independence? Like, you knew you could have all died, but yet you did it anyway. What balls? You know what I mean? Like, what were you thinking? Like, what was going on in the back rooms? What kind of bullshit was happening? Were you guys like banging whores? You know what I mean? Like, I got like 900 questions about all that shit. Like, cause you can read all the books and you kind of get other people's perspective on it. But a guy like that was so nonstop and did so many fucking things. You're just like, when did you sleep, bro?
He wanted the national bird of America to be a turkey. It's like, hey, dude, how dumb do you think that idea is now?
Yeah, a big, useless, tasty bird.
He was fighting for a turkey to be our bird, like over the bald eagle.
You can't win them all, Rod. You can't win them all.
Yeah, I get it. You know, he had the key and the kite and everything. He had some good stuff, but the turkey was,
it's pretty dumb.
You remember the bad ones, the bad things. Okay, Thomas Jefferson. I'm sorry, Benjamin Franklin.
Although he'd be great too. He would be great too. I thought about like John Kennedy. I just started thinking in that respect. Anyway, whatever. Just a little exercise to do. Okay, so what? Like I know we've talked about you got to interview Bono before, and you actually got to do that face to face, which that makes it a different dynamic altogether. You know what I mean? Like doing a Zoom, it just feels almost like, okay, whatever. It's a Zoom. You're still nervous. You still got to prepare a good interview because you want it to, you want people to watch it. But like with Bono, okay, so going back to my original question, you got 10 minutes to sit down with Elvis. What's going through your head 10 minutes walking up? Like how freaked out are you? Are you going to shit your pants before the interview? Or is it just like you're in a Zen thing because you've done your research? You're just, okay, don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Like, what's the process?
You want every single thing you say to be a banger. You want every single question. You don't want any filler. And the problem is, what 10-minute feels like because you're a professional broadcaster. The person that you're talking to, like Elvis might be talking, and while it's great to hear him talk, he could be telling you a story and he doesn't necessarily have the discipline in word economy that you and I have.
Right.
So you want every single thing, like you want in 10 minutes, you're hoping that people come away with, the most you could reach for is in a 10-minute interview, if people come away with like 4 really cool things, that's what you're hoping for. Now break that down. That's 2 minutes. That's 2 minutes and change for each one of those. What you want to be, you want to hit a triple, you want to hit a home run, you want to hit a dinger at the end there, or you open with a homer and then you just want to consistently hit triples with your questions. The problem is 10 minutes, man. I remember the first time that we interviewed Gene Simmons, and I was so and we had probably 10 minutes back then with Gene.
Right.
And Gene talks slow and he's very calculated.
Hurry the fuck up.
And what we did is we invented everything. And I'm like, Gene, I've got this list of questions for you. And then you just start kind of picking and choosing, but you don't want it to sound jerky because the thing about an interview is you're always looking for flow. And that's what you brought up earlier. You over prepare. They say something. If it's a complete thought and then boom, you can just completely say, okay, well, now we've got, you don't say that, but now that you have that, now we can go here.
Right. But
there are things that you'll hear in an interview where you just know you've got to continue with that. Right. Because you can tell they're not done. So my biggest fear is that Elvis is a long-winded motherfucker and he only tells one story, and the whole 10 minutes, he's telling me that he did peel potatoes, and I don't get a second question. He just talks about the 2 overnighters that he did, and then all the potatoes that he did peel, and he tells my Uncle Stan to fuck off, and then next thing I know, the 10 minutes is up.
And you're like,
there's a lot of pressure. That adds to the pressure when you're doing an interview, because a lot of times you'll have somebody in your ear, and they'll say, wrap it up, or last question.
Right.
It's like, fuck, man, this interview sucks. I'll do that as I'm talking to somebody and then wrap it up. Fuck.
Well, that's the thing too, is you people just think that you can when you go to interview somebody, you've got all the time in the world, but no, you're on the clock. A lot of times the phone interviews, like, or the old days where the phone interviews, you'd hear a beep. Okay. And they would tell you 20 times, you've got 10 minutes, because then they got to move on to the next radio station's interview. So you have got to squeeze all that shit in. So you wonder why it's so hard to get a good soundbite out of people. And I can't imagine even now, like politicians, especially, I think of how they have to speak. Everything has to be a perfect soundbite when they talk. That's why they never answer questions. They say what they want to say and they don't give a shit about your question.
When I got a little nervous, the last time I got nervous, Chris Martin and stuff, I wasn't nervous. I still always get nervous for every interview. I do. Every single interview, I get nervous. The last time I got really nervous, I was super nervous with the Bono interview. That was because my whole company was broadcasting that on all the radio stations. And then all those idiots were there. And they all grew up frat boys loving U2, and they were just feeding me questions. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, so that's a whole different dynamic. That's tough.
The last time I got really nervous was Wolfgang Van Halen, because it was Howard, me, and I want to say it was RollingStone.com or something like that. He was doing 3 interviews, and that was a lot of pressure for me to be the one non-Howard radio guy that was getting a chance to talk to him, because his album was coming out. He hadn't talked about his dad passing away. There were no rules. There weren't anything. And this, when you're doing an interview, it's one thing. I've talked about Tommy Lee before. Back in the day when he came in the studio with us, the big gorilla that he was with walked in and said, no Pam, no Hep C, no kids.
Right.
I'm okay with that. There's enough to talk about with Tommy Lee. And I played by the rules, and he hung out. He hung out for an hour with us. I mean, he was the coolest. Wolfgang, there were no rules. There were no nothing. So what you got to do during that interview is you got to throw something in there about dad, and you got to see how he handles it. And then you're really listening to him, because then you're seeing if you can go next level. Can we talk a little Van Halen here? Can we talk about what room you're in? Can we talk about, are there tapes? You're feeling him out just like a boxing match, and you're sitting there and you're just jabbing. And when you see those boxers going at each other and they're sizing each other up, and you're doing that during an interview, and that Wolfgang interview was just like that. I didn't know what he was open to. I had only met him once before. I knew that he was quiet. That was it. The one time that I had met him before, he was playing bass for Tremonti. And he was really soft-spoken and just not a showy guy. And he was like that, very soft-spoken in the interview, but he was pretty candid, though. He was pretty cool about, talking about Van Halen. And I did talk about, was there going to be a tour? And he was open about all that stuff. He wanted to take Dave and Sam, and he was even open to Gary Cherone. He wanted the Everything But the Kitchen Sink tour. And, when he started opening up about that, you got to respect him, though, because if he's going to give you something really great, then again, the reason he's talking to me, he has a new album out. Okay. I'm not going to be a complete dick and just sit here and talk about Van Halen. It's like, okay, let's go back to your album, bro. And blah, 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 blah. So you got to play that game. It's, it's like being in a boxing match.
Yeah. You're weaving, you're weaving, and the thing that a lot of guys, and I'm sure, I know I was guilty of it for years. I would write down a million questions and I wouldn't listen to the person. I would ask my question, they'd answer it, and I would just go to the second question because I was so nervous and I was so afraid to fuck it up. Yep. And then I just started watching like Letterman, who's like the greatest. He's so relaxed. And the thing I learned was just listen. If you listen, you don't need to have questions because you've done your research. It's all right there. You've got all your material just sitting in your head, waiting to be launched at the right moment. And like you said, bob and weave, kind of just feel it out. I mean, that's a tough interview because, his dad had just died. So you're walking a lot of eggshells there. That's a tough dance. That's a tough one.
And if you get on the Zoom call with him, and I clearly worship Van Halen, you gotta give the favor back. It's like almost a little reach around type of deal. It's like, okay, man, hey man, I really appreciate the Van Halen talk. Now, boom, let's bring it back around. The reason that you're here is you have a new album coming out. I know you don't want to sit here. I mean, I'm not verbalizing these, but in my brain, I'm like, thank you. It's like, okay, now let's really kind of drill in on this album here, you know, because obviously you got to open with him. You got to open with the new stuff. You got to talk about the album. And then you got to try to find that connective tissue. And he knows it's coming too.
Sure.
You know, you're just trying to, okay, here we go. You know, you're trying to transition smoothly as possible. Obviously, he featured his dad in that song, The Distance, home movies. That to me was the bridge to start talking about Eddie. You know, like I really was thinking of how I could get into talking about dad. You know, was he around? What did he hear? What did you play for him? You know, that type of stuff. And I'm glad that he knew that was coming. Because if you look at his social media too, you know, he's like, I'm not fucking playing Panama. I'm not, you know, it seems you know, he shuts down trolls quickly. But that stuff kind of came afterwards. I would have been super intimidated had I gone into that interview and I saw some of the things that he had posted since. But I was very nervous with that interview. And it's Wolfgang Van Halen. I was nervous. His last name is Van Halen. And I wanted to get it right because I knew that he was doing 3 interviews and I wanted to get it right.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the
key. You don't know what he's going to be like. Because if you don't know him, you know, there are some guys that you do an interview with and it's like, okay, I know it's going to be great. I mean, believe it or not, Chris Cornell, man, I just knew every conversation with him was going to be great. He was very easy to interview. He was so awesome to talk to. And I remember the first time when he was on a solo album, and he was playing the House of Blues. And I went backstage with my little tape recorder and I was so nervous thinking that, you know, this guy from Soundgarden is not going to talk. And man, when they talk it, you know, it makes it so much easier because when you get the yes and no, fuck.
Then you earn your money that day because that's hard, man. When you got to pull teeth through an interview, that sucks. Because you know, and a lot of times it is a lot of the bigger guys or the upper level guys. Some of them will be difficult, and you're like, you just look at them like, dude, give me something. I have to go back to the radio station. I've got to edit this. My boss is expecting something to hit the airwaves, so give me something. Don't you know? And that's all the internal shit you're saying to yourself. Like, come on, you motherfucker, let's go. Give me something. We're professionals here. I need this, you know. And when they're just going, yeah, you know, it's cool. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like, come on, you dick. That's the hard part. That's the hard part. Well, anyway, I just wanted to kind of go behind the scenes on the interview process because it's fascinating, man. It truly is it's an art form. And I've always said, Rod, you need to be doing that inside the actor's studio. That needs to be you with music and art and rock stars. You stack the fucking cards and just doing that would be huge. I'm telling you, pitch that up the food chain, dude. You ain't got to get up early for that shit either down the road. I'm just saying that's your second run. That's it. There it is.
After mornings, just sit around and interview people. I would love that.
Just sit around.
Because each person is a challenge, and then you look at it when they're not super, they're not super chatty. Then you're trying to ask the peeling the potatoes. You're trying to find something that breaks them. And then all of a sudden, somehow that gives you a little bit of trust. And then you're trying to look for something to kind of break through. And it's like, oh, okay, well, this guy's okay. And then, let's talk. So it's a challenge, but then you do feel miserable when it goes bad too. And you're thinking, okay, was it me? You can't just blame them. You can't just say, oh, he sucked. It's like, nah, you know what? I kind of sucked in that too, because I wasn't able to pull that out of that person.
Right.
And there's some people that, and I've talked about this on the air, Maynard from Tool, I just won't interview him anymore. I can't get anything out of him. I absolutely cannot break in. He's a weird guy. He is always on offense, and he's never been in a good mood when I've talked to him. And I've seen him be jokey guy. And I'm sorry that I'm not, your best friend that you're talking to, but I do have a job to do, and I'm trying to get something out of you. And he's a yes, no guy. When he's asked anything other than what he's on there for, he sells wine. When he sells wine, he doesn't want to talk about anything else but wine. That's not fair to the person interviewing you. You're on a rock radio station. I'm not interviewing fucking, Robert Mondavi. Okay. It's, and if he comes on and he wants to talk about a new Pussifer album, he almost gets offended that you brought up Tool.
Right.
Like, no, I'm just working on Pussifer right now.
Oh,
well,
okay.
but I mean, you still talk to the guys and, have you left the door open? No, I just really been focusing on Pussifer. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Thanks.
you fucker, man, and sometimes it doesn't even sound that nice. He shuts you down. I won't.
Yeah.
He's the only guy I turned the tables on. I said, Maynard, I'm not getting anything out of you, man. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about?
That's the old equivalent of throwing up your hands going, I got nothing, bitch.
I got nothing, bro. You seem really disinterested right now. What would you like to talk about? He's the only guy I've ever done that with.
Wow. That's
fuck.
nuts. That's nuts. Yeah, but you got to know why you're there. You know what I mean? Because if you're the guy from Tool, I'll talk about your wine, but give me some Tool shit. Because that's the only band I'm playing on the radio. I'm not playing Pussifer on the fucking radio station.
Correct.
Give me something I can use, dude. Rod, you want to take a quick break and talk about some Halloween shit? We got to talk candy. We got to talk costumes. We got to do our top 5 favorite Halloween movies.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
So New Orleans, guys, I don't know if anybody's going there this weekend. Halloween.
Holy shit. It's fucking wild. Last weekend it was nuts down there, dude. It was great.
Halloween is wild in New Orleans, man. It is so much fun. I mean, there's already like, spooky ghouls and goblins running around, 24/7, but Halloween, man, it's off the charts. But now through the end of the year, okay, make plans to go to New Orleans. And when you're there, be sure and book the Pirates of the Quarter walking tour. Really, really cool.
Awesome.
Loaded with information. There's no other. Jason says it's awesome.
Fucking great.
There's no tour like it. Apparently, I just heard it's fucking great. There's no other tour like it in the French Quarter. You're walking around, you're drinking, you're still partying. The pirates are leading you around. They're showing you things. They're talking about actual things that happened right where you are. You're hearing these incredible stories. And I mean, I don't like to put, tour against tour, but these guys are telling you actual history, but it's not boring history. It's cool, super interesting, awesome history, and how the pirates played in a huge part in what happens in New Orleans. So the history of New Orleans, it goes deep, man. And it's much more than just Bourbon Street. It's going to surprise you. So when you go to New Orleans, save a little time and discover pirate history of New Orleans. Details at piratesofthequarter.com, at Pirates of the Quarter on all the socials.
So, Rod, I'm looking at this Halloween stuff you sent over, and I'm like, yeah, man, I tell you, because you wrote a list, and we'll go through the stuff, and I'm just like, shit. Like some of the questions, like we'll just get into it, man.
These were just, this is me spitballing.
No, this is great though. This is good shit.
It's all herky jerky. Talk about like disconnected. It was just boom, boom, boom. I mean, so line 1, it says Halloween week, Monday, tricks and treats.
That's not really cool.
Best costume growing up.
Oh, see, that's cool. See, I came up with something for that question.
All right. What was your best costume growing up?
I was in 6th grade. 6th grade. Up until that point, it was the plastic faces. I was Yoda one year. I was Casper one year. And then the plastic thing you just put your body in. And it was just these shitty costumes you bought at the grocery store.
Yep. It was
Everybody
like
wore them.
smock.
Yeah, that's all it was. And they were terrible. And you couldn't see out the eye holes. You couldn't breathe. And they blew. But that's what every kid was wearing. Well, the one year my dad had gotten this kick-ass like werewolf looking mask, like the over the head cool mask, which back then there wasn't a lot of those going around.
No, there wasn't.
So I said, oh man, that thing is badass. I said, hey, we're having a dress up day where we're going to trick or treat around all the other classrooms. It's school. And the school said, hey man, can everyone come in, put your costume on, whatever. And I'm like, oh, can I use the mask? My dad's like, yeah. So then we got it together, took an old shirt, shredded the fuck out of it, made it look all like I was blowing out of it, took some jeans. I was barefoot. I put all kinds of shit on my feet. And then I had like a rope around my neck hanging there, like I broke free. So I walk in with this fucking shit on, or no, you go to school normal and then you get dressed. At
The mask
school,
is tricky though. Go ahead.
it was tough.
Yes.
And I'm in 6th grade, so everyone's got their, Holly Hobby dresses on and all their bullshit costumes. And I come out with this fucking badass werewolf, whatever the fuck it was, costume. And the teacher goes, "Whoa!" He got all excited. He comes over and he grabs the rope, and it's around my neck, like it's a real fucking rope. And he just grabs it and goes, "Come on, come with me. I'm gonna pull you around, like you're like I've captured you." And I go, "Okay." And I went from classroom to classroom, and like some classrooms, he would go in first with me, and everyone would scare the fuck out of all the kids because we were going to like 5th graders, 4th graders, 3rd graders classrooms, and we would scare the shit out of all the kids. And then after that, everyone else would come in and be like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Holly Hobby? Oh, what's up? Oh, you're a ghost. Cool."
Nice.
I was fucking knocking them out of the park that whole day. That was definitely the best costume growing up, and I didn't really plan it. It just the way the teacher was cool, and he started taking me around, and he started acting like I was biting him and shit. And I'm like, holy crap, this is good. It was cool. How about you?
So one year I was Frankenstein. Now there was 2 kinds of masks, and there was the $5 that was probably at Twin Fair or Two Guys or Circle K or Kmart or whatever the stores were back then.
Right. Wards.
And it was probably folded and it was in a box and it was permanently creased where the fold was. And the eyes didn't really line up. Okay. Now I didn't cause Spencer's had like the 25 buckers, and it sounds like maybe your dad got the one at Spencer's was like a $25 mask. And those I remember looking at those going, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Mine was more of a $5 one. And again, like it just, my head didn't fit in it. I couldn't really see. It was super loose. And the eye holes, like nothing was matched up really. Nope. But this is what made the costume great. My dad worked a lot, and all these memories of holidays and everything. Christmas morning, my dad was there, but everything else, it was just my mom. My dad worked. And then when my parents split, but my dad worked. But I remember my mom liked Halloween. And we had talked about, I had this sport coat and my mom put the big shoulders in it and the whole deal. So it was mostly homemade except for the mask that didn't really line up anywhere. Nothing lined up on the face. So I didn't know that my mom arranged this with my dad, but my dad took an old pair of my sneakers, my Tracks, the $5.99 Kmart Tracks.
Blue light special, baby.
He took my sneaker and he traced my foot on a 2x4, and he did 2 of them. And then he bolted them to the bottom of my shoe, put a little rubber piece on the bottom, and then painted them black. And when I got up for school, because we were dressing up at school, they were sitting on the table.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm like, holy shit. My dad had already left for work, but he made them in the middle of the night, and he made these shoes for me. And I had the shittiest mask, but everybody was amazed. And I was walking in these shoes, which later, obviously, those transitioned into Gene Simmons shoes. Yeah, and, we put the teeth on them and everything like that afterwards. But that costume, just because my dad had surprised me with that, and it was that morning, I don't know what my plan was. I think I was just going to wear my regular sneakers, and he had taken an old pair. Now, did my parents worry about me breaking my ankles or breaking a leg, tripping, falling, busting my face? No.
No.
But it was 2x4s. I feel like it was 2. Maybe it was just 1. But it just looked so fucking cool and everything. And I just like, this is like a cool costume now, man. This is like legit shit.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I remember, trick-or-treating later that night, and I wanted to wear those shoes. My mom's like, that was just for school. I wouldn't have made it anywhere. I would have broke my ankle with those for sure. But the mask is tricky because It's so fucking hot in there. And like I said, mine was horrible. Mine.
They never line up. Nothing. You can't
was
see
just-
shit.
Yeah, it didn't fit my head. It was like a one size fits,
None.
adults. And I was, a kid. And it was just, I could have turned the whole thing around. I had to hold it to see everything.
I know. The one year I sent my kid out, he had like this cool mask and it was like a full thing. And I'm looking at it going, I'm looking at him and I'm looking at the mask and he loved it. He thought it was going to be badass. Just scare the shit out of everybody, and he was like,
They're good short term.
and I'm like, he's going to be miserable, but I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to ruin the fun. I'm just going to let him go run with it. And he figured it out, man. Yeah. And what's great now is like Halloween in the French Quarter. Everyone, if you don't dress up, you're an idiot. Like, because you feel dumb. Like in the French Quarter all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, Monday night, this weekend, you would better have some sort of costume, and it better be halfway decent, because it's not worth your effort if you don't put in a little effort. We've been out numerous times on Halloween throughout the years, and it's like you're dressed up in some goofy ass shit, and it makes it so much more fun. I mean, it's so much more fun. It's awesome. It's a badass thing. I guess that would fall into the most memorable Halloween, Ron. Is that your most memorable Halloween?
No.
Okay.
It's not. Because in 1976, Paul Lynde had a Halloween special. And it's like this goofy, you can go see it on YouTube. I'll have to link to it on our socials. It's this goofy, horribly written variety show. And the witch from The Wizard of Oz is on there. Witchy Poo from HR Puffin Stuff is on there. But Kiss was on there in 1976. And that, to me, on Halloween night, seeing Kiss, I think I had heard of them before. I heard big kids kind of talk about them, and I know the kid across the street had an album. That was the first time I saw Kiss. That was my Ed Sullivan Beatles moment.
Right.
When the generation above us, much older than us, that's where kids, when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, that was the biggest musical moment maybe ever, where kids wanted to do that. That put more guitars in more kids' hands than anything in the history of music. My Ed Sullivan moment was Kiss on that Paul Lynde special, and it was unbelievable. It was so fucking cool. I couldn't believe how afraid I was, how they made me feel. They were scary. They were cool. They were superheroes. They were monsters. They were everything at once. And I saw them when I got back from trick-or-treating, turned on the TV, and my mom was a sucker for any of those variety, any kind of, like a telethon, anything that had multiple stars on it. It is the most hokey, cheesy thing ever. It's on YouTube. 1976, seeing Kiss, by far my most memorable Halloween.
Shit.
Changed my life. It absolutely changed my life seeing that. And it happened on Halloween night. Kiss, Halloween. That's why when they played Voodoo Fest on Halloween, I said, that was me coming into the world of Kiss. And that's it. That's my exit. It's never going to get better than this. Seeing them. I don't know if it was Halloween night that they played.
It was Halloween night. They played Voodoo. It was many years ago now.
Halloween night was on a weekend.
Awesome. It was.
And I said, this is it. This is, I'm not going to spend any more money on Kiss. I go in, I go out, and then boom, I call it a life. And I ended up going to see Kiss a couple of times after that. But that was going to be my retirement show, just because of that's where I got introduced to them.
See, I was thinking about this. I'm like, most memorable Halloween, you know what? They all kind of blur together. And I know that I've always loved Halloween. Like, I love going out. I love wandering the streets of the Quarter. Or, we had the Voodoo Fest here for many years. There was always a great band that weekend. And it was just, Halloween's just cool, man. It's just, there's something about it. Even as an adult, I think, you growing up trick-or-treating was always cool. That was always a blast. Go out and get as much candy as you can get and then fight over it with your brother. That kind of thing, But then, like, I remember getting to be like 16 or 17. I'm like, okay, well, Halloween's over now. It's no more fun. And then a few years went by, and next thing you know, we're I'm coming to your fucking house. Everyone that in your basement, at the Ryan basement, or your bedroom with the fucking stars on the ceiling and shit, is 21, and everyone's going out for Halloween, and I'm like, bro, I'm not 21. I'm a little pup. You're like, fuck that. Put on a hard helmet. Put on a fucking a jacket. You're gonna go as a construction guy. You'll get it, no problem. I'm like, holy shit. That's back when you could actually do that kind of thing because nobody was card. Yeah, that kind of shit was great. I remember actually that was probably one of my favorite reintroductions to Halloween.
I forgot about that. Holy shit.
Because I was like, well, because usually like, yeah, cruise up, dude. We're gonna fucking dress up and maybe we'll go out. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll just peel because I know we're gonna party in your house for like 4 hours. And I'm like, well, that'll be fun, and I'll just peel off. And then you guys go out and do your thing, and that's good. I'm cool with that. And you're like, fuck that, let's go. Hard hat. You're like rummaging around. It's like going in Snoopy's fucking doghouse, man, in your basement. You're
like, I got something in there.
Shit. You fucking here, put this on. Someone handed me some gloves. I'm like, I'm a construction worker. Great. Happy Halloween, everybody. And we went out and tore the shit out of the town. And that got me back into like, oh, wait, Halloween is for adults. And of course I was like 20. So yeah. Yeah, I just saw that right now, dude. Yeah, you reintroduced me to Halloween. That's awesome. Holy shit.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, haunted houses, where do you sit on haunted houses? In New Orleans years ago, and you got to tell me if this is still around, but years ago, there was something called the House of Shock. And
so good.
Phil from Pantera, he was heavily involved in it. And then we knew a couple of other guys. One of my tattoo guys was Ty, was like really kind of involved with it. He worked it. They had Pantera / Nickelback. They were using some of their lights that they did on
Pyro
tour
and shit.
And yeah, I mean, it was the most intense. And I'll tell you, it probably peaked when Headbangers Ball did a show from there around Halloween time. I don't remember the year, but it's got to be late 90s. And Headbangers Ball was doing the show from the House of Shock. And that was the biggest thing ever in New Orleans. But, you know, every city seems to have like that one, you know, haunted house. Yay or nay on the haunted houses?
It's not that it was never something I would seek out, but because of our relationship with all those guys, I would go to the House of Shock. And because we knew those guys, you sort of got, I don't want to say special treatment. It was actually worse treatment. They would scare you even harder. And that place, like parking your car is where it began when you parked at the House of Shock, because you were parking under like the Huey P. Long Bridge, which was dark in its industrial neighborhood. It was scary as fuck. And then they hired like these dudes to dress up, and they were carrying chainsaws around. They looked fucked up, and they're just walking around the parking lot. They're walking around the grounds, and they're scaring the shit out of you then. And they're like dragging things around. Like at first you're like, oh, that guy's working. And then you're like, wait, that guy's chasing me. What the fuck? So they were great about like the second you step foot on the grounds, shit was fucked up. And these guys were scary. I remember taking my my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, by the way. And we could only be, it's working out so far, I guess, a million years later. We had been together for a little while, and I said, hey, let's go to the House of Shock and grab some girlfriends or whatever. We'll just go and we'll get, you know, they sell beers and shit. So you're drinking, and our guy Ross, who was the guy that like who hosted the one show that they did before he went through the actual haunted house. He said, you're coming out. Cool, man. Come find me. And we'll take care of you. And I'm like, oh, cool. This is going to be great. My chick is pretty, well, you know her. She's a little vocal. So yeah. I said, hey, when we meet the scary guys who probably most of them look like they should be in prison, I said, maybe let's keep it quiet for a little while. I didn't say to be quiet to her. I just said, hey, everyone be cool. Okay. Because you don't want to add fuel to the fire, because a little spark will go a long way with these motherfuckers, and they are scary dudes.
Yeah.
We get there and we go through this little alleyway, and then Ross is standing there, and he's huge. He's got this deep voice and stuff, and he's a scary looking dude. And he's in character. So he's not like, hey, Ginty, what's up? He's fucking on, and he's evil as fuck. And my wife just goes, oh, you're not that scary.
Don't tempt them. I mean,
I'm like, Jesus.
Like, okay, we got one over here. She thinks she's going to be able to handle this. Over.
Dude, they bring out this dude, and you know those guys are fucking nuts, man. They brought out this dude and standing right in front of my wife, right? Or my girlfriend at the time, and we're all standing around, and this guy's got fucking like he's nuts. And the dude hands my wife a fucking staple gun.
I'm anxious about the whole thing. I have anxiety. Just you talking about it, I have anxious because you know I hate these things. Go ahead.
It's so great. So she's freaking out. Now she's like, oh shit. I'm like, you dumbass, you know? So this crazy fucking dude comes out of nowhere and he's like fucking growling, snarling at her. And he's got no shirt on and just shorts on. And he goes and he hands my wife a fucking staple gun. And he takes a handkerchief and he sticks it on his forehead and he grabs her hand and the staple gun and puts it against his own forehead and says, pull the fucking handle. She's like, that ain't happening. I'm not doing that. So then he just squeezes her hand on the handle and fucking steps back. And there's a fucking staple on the guy's forehead holding the thing to his forehead. And he rips it off and there's just blood coming down. And I'm like, what? Yeah. My wife is fucking screaming. So
that's the House of Shock, though. It was so next level. It was like
super
Titanic Disney.
It was great. It is so well done. And they don't have it anymore. It kind of morphed into other guys. It just kind of came and went. There's other guys that got other shit opened up. I haven't been, but Haunted Houses, that place was fucking scary, man. Like in a real scary way. They did it right. But I don't seek those out.
The last time I went, they were paying me to come out to do a remote. So I get a they sent me a limo, the whole deal. And my mom and my sister are in town. I've got my girlfriend at the time, who did not become my wife. We go and correct me if I'm wrong, the band Rat Poison is playing.
Yeah. Our guys, Rat Poison, were playing. They were like an 80s cover band, man. They were great.
Right. And so my mom's not going through the House of Shock. Okay. She's just not going to do it. My sister is going through with my girlfriend. I stay with my mom. I told the guys, I said, I'll do a remote. I said, I'm not going through. I'm just not going through. I said, maybe you want to get somebody. No, Rod, we want you. And I said, but this isn't one of those things when I get there, you're going to go, aha, you're here. Why don't you just go through? I said, I'm bringing my mom. I'm not going through. They're like, we're cool with that. They got so high tech that they had cameras in there and you could kind of watch. There was like a viewing area. So I'm watching my sister go through this thing. Now, keep in mind, the band is playing. And they're playing Whitesnake, and they're like, where's Rod's mom? You know, and they're playing Whitesnake. I'm like, oh, shit, this might be a mistake. Then they had people hanging from fucking meat hooks and swinging on the stage, right? My mom's there. So I'm watching the screens, and I can see my sister and the girlfriend, and they're walking through. And then I look, and my mom's nowhere to be found. My mom's in the fucking front row of the band with her little camera, and she's taking pictures of people swinging from meat hooks. Okay.
Yeah.
Meat hooks. She's taking pictures front row, and everybody knows that that's Rod's mom. So my sister, I can hear my sister. Ryan's are loud. We're very loud. I hear my sister in the thing. Over everybody screaming, there's metal. Pantera is blaring, right? And I can hear Sue. I hear Sue screaming. She gets out and she looks like she's been through a fucking car wash. Okay. She's just flush. She looks exhausted. She looks like she's been to hell and back. My sister, just everything, anything that she did to get ready that night. She wasn't wet. She just looked like she had been to hell. Okay. Yeah. She comes walking out and there's that one little breath where you go, oh God, I made it through. Right as you're gasping for that air, there's a guy right there with a fucking chainsaw. And my sister goes, that's fucking enough. She yelled at him. She goes, that's a fucking enough. Like she was over. She wanted the ride was over. She was led to believe that she had stepped off of the ride.
Right.
And then boom, she was in the clear. And then chainsaw guy, and she's like, fuck this. I thought this was a fucking safe area here. That's enough. She yelled at this guy. It was so funny. We were pissing. My mom was laughing.
Oh my God.
My mom was, we were pissing our pants. It was so funny.
I remember being out there and those guys, it was like a traveling circus sideshow deal. These guys with the meat hooks, they were taking like when you go fishing and the hook goes in the fish's mouth. They were doing that like through big folds of skin. They would do like 2 or 3 hooks in the skin in their back, and they would hang from that shit and just be
Jane's Addiction.
Chains.
Jane's Addiction would have girls hanging
And I'm
later on.
I remember just being like, what the fuck am I watching, man?
Yeah, it's right through your skin. And you're like, well, Rod, that's got to be some kind of an optical illusion. I said, no, they're fucking weirdos, man. They're like into it. That's all a part of it. You know, it's the whole discipline of like channeling and going to another place as you're swinging and you're fucking being held by your flesh. Dave Navarro got into that for a while. He was actually doing it. But Jane's Addiction, fucking playing like Ocean Size, and 2 girls swinging on hooks that are through it's one of the greatest musical concert visuals of all time. And you're like, Rod, what kind of sicko are you? I don't know. I'm not into it, but fucking Jane's Addiction was just on a different level for me. And to see girls swinging on meat hooks while they're playing, it was amazing. It was like, it really is. It is a top 5 concert experience to see that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember like years ago, I went back to House of Shock. They'd say, hey, Genty, come out and do a broadcast out here. All right, cool. Do the thing. And I would ask my wife every year, hey, you want to go out? She's like, fuck you. Never happened. It's like, she's never been back. She won't go. She's like, no. I'm
that
like,
was it.
Had you listened to your fella, me, it probably wouldn't have been so bad. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was saying. I'm like, you know what? Had you listened? Oh, so I don't know if you watched this on YouTube, but you should, because we do a video version of this every week on our YouTube channel at Playpants Pod. And Rod has been changing out the headgear. We started off with a little axe number through the skull, and it looks like we have a little ball. No, that's a claw hammer.
It's a claw hammer. Right stuck in my melon.
Jammed right in the skull. So very into the Halloween decorations this year, I see.
One final thing. Now, I hate haunted houses. I hate scary movies. I hate jump scares. I hate it. I don't enjoy it. And it's like, stop being a puss. I really do. I hate it. I got the opportunity to broadcast from Universal Studios with the radio station, and it was during Halloween. And I knew going in, they want you to talk about the attractions, the reason they're paying for you to go there. It's like, you rub my back, I'll rub yours. You come, you go to Universal Studios, you use our studios, you get jump the line on everything. But it was their Halloween celebration, and there were 6 of the scariest haunted houses in the world, and I had to go through all of them.
That's awesome.
It's not worth the trip, man. Like, it was awesome. You know, this was back when we first started, and wow, I get to go to Florida for free, really, and get paid. And I had to go through all of those haunted houses in Florida. It was terrible. It was just so awful. And if you let them know that you don't like it, they're just going to fucking make it worse, you know?
Always, as they should, Rod.
I hate it.
Yeah. No, not. I'll go to them. If someone says, hey, man, you go to, you know what I mean? Like, if there's a group of people going and you're making a night out of it, because you're going to go, you're all going to be scared to death. You're going to laugh your asses off at each other. You go out and have something to eat afterwards, and you're like, that was awesome. And you just talk about it, because it's the jump scare thing, you know? It's that.
There's a place in in Niagara Falls on the American side, Nightmares, which kind of became internet famous for a while because they were smart enough to, when they had a jump scare, they had a group of people going through, they were snapping a photograph, and early on, they were putting those digital pictures, and they were going all over the place. That was in Niagara Falls, New York, and it was called Nightmares. And you did get a certificate, like, stating, how brave you were and how many people, couldn't make it through, because their big thing was, we're so scary, here's the safe word and we'll get you right out of there. But if you are brave enough, we'll get you this certificate you can hang on the wall that you were brave enough to go through. But they were smart, man, with the digital cameras. And if you remember, they kind of had that kind of groovy, kind of cool wallpaper, but they would put out those jump scare pictures.
Yeah.
That would go viral. viral every year. Yeah. And when it's a group of people and it's captured, that was pretty fun. I mean, I like watching that stuff. I just wouldn't want to, I can't even imagine the faces that I would make. I've asked you this before, but what's the trick-or-treater situation on your street? Because I've told you how crazy it is where I live now.
Man.
Are you prepared? Okay, let me ask you this. Have you bought candy?
We got some candy. We're good to go. We're good to go. Our house is decorated up. I mean, you know, I live on a cool street, a lot of kids, but I get bummed. I actually had this conversation just yesterday with my kid. I'm like, dude, I got to be honest. I'm not super psyched about Halloween this year. And he's like, what? That's your thing? You love Halloween? Because I make all these different music beds and all these sound effects and shit. So from an audio standpoint, my house is the scariest fucking house in the neighborhood. You know, got the music playing through various speakers in my front yard. We're all dressed up, you know, and it's like, it's awesome. We got a party going. We got the lights and everything. But then, like, you know, 30 kids cruise by, and I'm like, I'm always at the end of the night, I'm like, fuck, I did all that for 30 kids. Damn, that sucks. So I get bummed out every year. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to go all through the effort this year. I'm kind of like, fuck it.
So I asked across the street from me, I kind of just, you know, we got a group chat. I'm like, did anybody write down what they started with, the candy situation, and what they went through? Across the street, they're smart. She said that they did 800 pieces of candy. 800 kids, they feel like, went through. Okay. I'm walking the dog the other day, and I'm talking to a woman. She's walking the dog, and I asked her the same question. I'm kind of friendly with her. And I said, hey, any idea, you know, how much candy you gave out last year? She thinks they did 1,200 kids. That's, I mean, you're saying that you might get 30.
How are you getting 12? I mean, how the hell do you got time?
There's at times there's a line. At times there's a line. It's nonstop.
See, I would own that shit.
It's nonstop. So this neighborhood, it's so great. It's
cool.
It's intense. The price of candy, I hate to be that guy. Everything is expensive. I get it. But the shrinkflation, what the fuck? You know, the candy bars that we got when we were young, I know it was 100 years ago, but fun size, you know, they were what? 2.5, 3 inches? That was a mini candy bar.
Right.
Now it's like a fucking tiny, not even a 1x1 block. Yeah. I mean, they're really, really tiny. 250, a bag of 250 pieces is going to cost you about $18.
What?
Yeah. So I need about 6 or 7 of those. So I'm well over $100 on the candy.
Wait. There's no fucking way that you're going to hand out one of those little 1 inch by 1 inch things. Here you go, kid. It's a little something for the effort. They're going to fucking rip your house down, dude.
I'm still doing the pandemic tube. I still got the tube.
But you're just giving one kid one candy?
Yeah. I have to here. Dude, I have to.
Really?
Now, later on, if I've got extra, boom, everybody will get extra. But I spent over $100 on candy.
Oh, yeah.
Guess what? You're getting one little bit of honey. That's it. Boom. Get out.
Oh, shit. You get a little pale gum.
Yeah.
Shitty stale gum.
Because guess what? Right behind you, there's 900 other of you idiots coming.
Yeah, that's true.
I do. I love it. I do. I love it. But yeah, I mean, one year when in my old neighborhood, I would get maybe like you, maybe 30 kids. I'd go full size, man.
Oh, yeah. Fistfuls. Here, kid, take this shit.
I went full size one year, and the little girl, I handed it to her, and she went, full size, OMG. And it made me feel so good. It was the best. To hear that little girl say that, full size, OMG. Dude, it was awesome.
You might want to full size this shit this year. Come on. It'd
be thousands of dollars.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, think about it. It's the Astros ticket for making all those kids OMG it in front of your house on Halloween. I mean, you got to balance this shit out, dude. You want to do something a little on the selfish side for you, or really generous for all these poor kids in your neighborhood. I mean, you do you, man. But I'm just saying, there sounds like there's something here, maybe.
How about we do this? How about we take a short break and we come back and we talk about Halloween movies, kind of like we did with the Halloween songs. If you can prove some sort of connective tissue that because everyone knows a Halloween, the movie Halloween,
Right,
Freddy, Jason, Pinhead, all of that. And I don't think you watch those either. So
especially now.
So just like we did our favorite Halloween songs, if you can prove that, hey, here's the connection and this is why it makes for a great Halloween playlist song, I'm good with it. So kind of the same thing with movies we're going to do. So scary, Halloween, maybe it's not scary, but something that kind of fits this time of year. I'm looking for your top 5 favorite movies.
It's going to be a good one. I don't have to do a whole lot of connecting of the dots. Mine are good. And then we're going to dive into the after list as well, because there's a bunch of things I want to talk about. It's the last week. The last week right now, the Rod Ryan Show Care Store is open. The last week. Get your shit together. I love the fact that we can swear during commercials. This is not something that we normally get to do, so it's fun. I hope you don't mind. Get your boobs rock merchandise. What are you waiting for? It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Everything in the store benefits breast cancer research at MD Anderson Houston. They got the t-shirts, they got koozies, stickers. I think I saw a picture of you wearing, correct me if I'm wrong here. It was, I forget what logo you attributed. Was it the Metallica logo?
Yeah, I had the Boobs Rock Metallica shirt on today.
That was cool, dude. That's a cool one. I like that, man. They got stickers, squeezy boobs, and a whole lot more. And all the information on your boobs rock merchandise is on the world famous Rod Ryan Show page at thebuzz.com. Not only do you get a cool shirt, you're helping out a great cause, man. You're helping out a great cause. If you're not watching on the YouTube channel, which you can, smash that subscribe button. Now we've got a little new piece of headgear. It is a saw sawing into Rodney's head. Looks like painful, Rod. I will say this, Rod. You're a true professional because through all the pain and the blood, still broadcasting, man. You ain't quitting.
I'm still bringing it. I have a rip saw in my head, and I'm still going at it here. No problems.
I think it's great. I think that really shows your professionalism. I think you might need to get a fucking towel afterwards or something to mop that shit up. But
I'm good. Good. The blood's already coagulated. I'm good, bro.
Little aspirins maybe before you hit the sack later. You're gonna get blood on the pillow, dude.
It's a little tender. That's okay. Yeah, you guys should be watching this on YouTube. Okay, Jason Ginty, why don't you go ahead, man? I believe I went first on my Halloween songs list. Why don't you dazzle me with your Halloween movies?
Fucking blow minds. Wow, yours is just gonna leak out. All right.
Yeah.
At number 5, and I haven't seen. This is where it gets weird. I haven't seen a lot of these movies in years, so I'm kind of going off of memory, which I remember them scaring the shit out of me back in the day. Some of these. Hellraiser. We've spoken about it on the podcast before. Hellraiser. That's the Pinhead dude. The very first one. It's got that real kind of old, like just the look and the feel of it, because it is an older movie, is scary. The colorization of it is scary. Like when you watch the Halloween movie, it's just scary because the way the colors are in it. You know what I mean? Like it's got that weird, I don't even know what the filter would be called today, but it's got a weird color to it. And that adds to the scare. A sepia or whatever you call it. It's a weird.
Well, it's because it's film and they processed. Yeah. And it's film and they process the film a different way, you know.
But it added to the color. And that movie's fucked up, man. That movie is scary. It's scary to me.
Okay, so I haven't seen any Pinhead stuff. I know who the character is.
Then watch the first one, dude.
Is it gory? Like, are they ripping arms off and stuff? Is it gory? Are they torturing people?
There's a little bit of that going on. Yeah, we talked about meat hooks earlier. There's a little bit of that going on. It's pretty cool. It's actually, I remember watching that scene, and I was young teenager, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
There's an awesome Motorhead song called Hellraiser. And I don't know if it's associated with the movie at all. I don't know if he wrote it for the movie. Maybe he just wrote a song, Hellraiser. But man, if they didn't get those two worlds together, it's a great Motorhead song.
Interesting. But yeah, Hellraiser's good. Okay. This one may surprise you. I don't know if this would be on your list. I don't know if you even thought about this one, but I did. And I went, hell yeah, because it screams that Halloween vibe. Dusk Till Dawn, Quentin Tarantino at number 4. You got your vampires and Halloween. They go hand in hand. Now, is that a Halloween movie? Not really.
it's a great this time of year movie.
And that was my
So-
point. That was my point.
So
Yeah.
just like, the songs, we were so wide open to almost anything. I was talking today, I was playing on the air, Bow Wow Wow, I Want Candy.
Great.
Is it a Halloween song? No, it's about fucking candy. It's more of a summer song than anything, but I don't mind that on my Halloween playlist. I don't mind a little I Want Candy. So Dusk Till Dawn, that's an awesome movie.
So
it
great.
really is just so great.
It's got everything you want with a Halloween movie. It's got enough jump scares, but it's got enough, because Halloween movies, they better have a little cheese on them. I'm sorry, man, but a good Halloween movie, it's got to have a little cheese. And
Yes.
that has it. It's got it, but they know they're doing it. That's what's great about the cheese factor with Tarantino. Dusk Till Dawn is a great Halloween season movie. Number 3.
Are you not going to even mention Salma Hayek? I mean, it is maybe one of the greatest pieces of cinema. It's the greatest thing that's been on screen since Phoebe Cates in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. If you want to talk about the two just boner scenes, those are the two.
Give me the Selma Hayek number 1 for me. Absolutely. I remember watching it the first time and it was like my whole life slowed down.
Yep. I mean,
It's in slow motion. It wasn't even like a boner situation. It was just like, this could be the sexiest, hottest, most incredible thing I have ever seen. And the music was perfect. The dance,
band,
everything.
yeah. Tito and the Tarantulas.
Perfect.
Great
Love that song.
Great soundtrack there. That song was perfect. It was so slinky. She's got the
Fucking big
boa
snake.
constrictor.
I mean, just everything.
You can't bring up Dusk Till Dawn if you don't. You got to bring that scene up. All right, that's a good list so far.
That was
3.
number 4. Number 3. Shit. This is where it gets fucking hard. I hate these lists, man. I'm reworking my list as we speak. That was number 4. Number 3. I've got to go. Interview with a Vampire. Shot in New Orleans, a lot of it, man. It's got the New Orleans vibe. It's Anne Rice. I live in freaking New Orleans. It's a great this time of year movie. Is it Halloween? Not necessarily, but it's got all the Halloween elements, man. Interview with a Vampire. I got to put that at number 3. I'm redoing my list as we. Oh my God, this is hard.
Yeah, have some discipline, dude. Stick with what you wrote down.
Discipline. How long have you known me? I have
Jesus
none. I have fucking none. That was number 3. Number 2, The Crow. It's actually not a Halloween movie. It's more of a Devil's Night movie, of course.
The day before Halloween. It's a Halloween movie. Come on.
Yeah, it's a Halloween movie. It's fucking great. There were talks a few years ago, and they've talked about a million different times about trying to redo it or reboot it or do it again or whatever. And I'm just like, I don't know if you can. That's one of those.
They will.
They will. But man, that's a tough one to try and redo because it was done so well the first time. But we'll see. The Crow at number 2.
Did you ever watch The Crow 2 with the
watched
other
them all.
guy?
They kind of weren't good. The second one wasn't awful, and then it just got shittier after that. So
Yeah.
no, the original one was great.
All right. Crow at number 2 and number 1, your all-time favorite Halloween scary, non-scary movie.
I gotta go, and I'm changing my number 1. I'm literally dumping number 1 off my list.
What the fuck are you doing over there?
It's my list. I can do what I want. I'm putting in my favorite Halloween movie because it's got that Halloween vibe. Is the double feature from Quentin Tarantino, Death Proof. That's the one with Kurt Russell in the car, and then whatever the fucking second one is with the zombies. I can't remember the second part of it. It was
Machete?
Rodriguez did the second half because it was put out as a double feature. They show the movies separate now, but it was Death Proof was the first half, and then this fucking zombie thing was the second half.
Your number 1 movie, you know half of it. Your number 1 movie, you know half of it.
I didn't think to look up the second part of it.
It's your number 1.
I know. I suck
Now,
at this.
Am I right in thinking that Machete came out of that? Was there like a phony trailer in that movie, and that's why we got the Machete movies?
That I don't know, but I know that was a separate movie.
I know it's a separate movie, but I want to say that it came from that franchise. It came or that movie. I saw that Death Proof car because it was filmed in Austin. I've seen that car just driving on the street before.
Oh, that's fucking great.
Unless some guy just went and redid it as that, but it looked.
Planet Terror is the second half. Planet Terror, sorry.
That's the Rose McGowan where she's got a machine gun for a leg.
It's just that because it's got that old film look and there's all the jumps in the film and stuff. And it's got that whole Halloween and the lead up and all that stuff. It's a great Halloween-esque movie, I blew out. I had Halloween at number one because that's like such a great Halloween movie. And I was like, you know what? I like all these ones better.
But which Halloween though? Like what?
The very first one ever, Halloween, the original movie, because that sets the bar for me anyway.
Okay.
Jamie Lee Curtis, she's like 17 or whatever, in the station wagon and just creepy shit. And then we'll talk other movies around it after you get your top 5 favorite Halloween season movies. However, we will list this.
The one that you have. Okay. In at number 5. Because this is not my specialty genre, I don't know. I don't think I have a specialty in anything, but these are not the movies that I gravitate towards. But the ones that I like, I saw them a long time ago. They must have run on HBO a lot. And with all of mine, there seems to be a little bit of comedy mixed in with them. With the cheese that you're talking about, I think you nailed that. There has to be some cheese in your horror movie, and it should have a drive-in feel to it,
Yes.
1985, I owned it on VHS, The Return of the Living Dead. It is the best zombie movie ever because it's probably one of the only zombie movies that I saw. But
well, that makes it the best, I suppose.
But the soundtrack is awesome. It's punk rock. It's zombies. There's cheese involved. There's awful special effects that are kind of great in their awfulness. Right. There is a story involved. It's not like a lot of big name actors in it, but the soundtrack is awesome. The Cramps are on there, The Damned. So it's definitely a punk situation. This is a big movie. This is a movie that came out, and there was Return of the Living Dead part 2 and 3, but this was the one. It kind of was the first one. Was the answer to the old black and white one, The Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
This was the Return of the Living Dead, and it was kind of like a cool early MTV looking kind of version of it. There's a hot punk chick that strips, and it's kind of like the Dusk Till Dawn moment years before Dusk Till Dawn. So there is that scene in there because there's got to be, come on, with a movie, there's got to be some titties in a horror movie. There does have to be some titties. I hate to sound so aggro, but there has to be. That's my number 5. Great soundtrack.
All right.
1985.
Wow.
1981. An American Werewolf in London.
Had it on my list. Love that.
Bro.
Movie. So great.
The dude's name is David Naughton. He was the Dr. Pepper guy when we were little kids. I'm Pepper, you're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
Oh, yeah.
He was the guy that was dancing around with the little vest and the long sleeve shirt. So it's horror, it's comedy, and fun fact, An American Werewolf in London, it's the first movie to win they created the category of special effects. Rick Baker was the special effects guy. And I know this just because he did this, launched him, and he became the monster guy. And he did all the stuff on Thriller, I believe. Rick Baker was responsible for when the character on American Werewolf in London, when he transitions into the werewolf, they show his hand growing. They show his snout coming out, and they're showing everything, and the hair's coming out. It wasn't like the old horror movies where the guy fell, and then when he stood up, he was the werewolf. Right. They were showing him turning into it, and it's the coolest thing ever. And I gotta say, this David Naughton guy, I don't know if he did much acting after that, but it looked like he was in so much pain that his hand was like stretching out and his bones were. They created an Academy Award category because it was so great for this movie.
Wow. Yeah. Good movie.
American Werewolf in London. And when that's happening, for me, a lot of these movies too, it's got to be horror. It's got to be scary. There's got to be some comedy. There's got to be some titties, and there's got to be some good music. There's got to be good music. And that American Werewolf in London, all the Moon songs. So Blue Moon, Moon Dance when he's banging the chick, Don't Go Out Tonight, Bad Moon Rising when he's turning into the werewolf. Awesome.
Yep. That's good. That's good. I like that one. Damn.
In at number 3, 1987, maybe one of my favorite movies from the 80s, The Lost Boys.
I had it on my list. Yeah, that's great. That's a great, again, doesn't scream Halloween to me, but it's a Halloween seasonal movie you need to watch.
It's vampires, you know?
I know, but it's like, it's just fucking, we actually watched it over the summer. I think we watched it, and it was like, holy shit, still pretty cool.
I was going to ask you, does it hold up?
It's tough with those movies because the special effects are shit. You know what I mean? But it was still good. It was still really good. You look at it through nostalgia's eyes. You're like, yeah, this movie's great. But then like you sit there with your kid, they're like, yeah, okay. But the story's still cool. It's still fun. You look at the big hair, you look at the boom boxes, you start laughing.
Kiefer Sutherland feels like he had the first big screen mullet. Now, I had a mullet in 87, so it was before I saw the movie, but he seems to think that he's responsible for the first big screen mullet. That was the first movie that the Coreys got together.
Yeah.
So Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, they went on to do all of those things. That was their introduction to each other. And then I go back to the soundtrack, man. In Excess and Jimmy Barnes, that Good Time song is so amazing.
Yep.
I hope you appreciate that Echo and the Bunnymen cover of People Are Strange, because it's really true to the Doors. They don't really monkey around with it at all. They keep it very Doors-esque because it just fits the moodiness of it. That is one of the all-time great soundtracks.
Great soundtrack. And that was one of those movies that like it actually kept you guessing a little bit throughout the movie. You're like, wait, who's the dude? Who's killing everybody? You know what I mean? It was cool.
Everybody thought that the grandfather was probably a vampire.
Right. And I thought for sure the grandfather, and there was some funny shit in it too, man. Yeah, no, that's
gotta have funny. When he finds out, when one of the Coreys, Corey Haim, when he finds out that Jason Patrick, his older brother, is a vampire, he goes, wait till mom gets home. Like he finds out his brother is a blood-sucking vampire. He goes, wait till mom gets home. It's so funny. It's so fucking funny. I'm going to tell mom that you're a vampire.
Well, okay. What is she going to fucking do, man? Yeah, no, that movie's great. The Lost Boys. So awesome. Yeah, good call.
In at number 2, The Crow, 1994.
Yep.
Like you said, it takes place October 30th. It's Hell's Night, Devil Night. I don't know what else can be said about it. Awesome. Again, the soundtrack, just unbelievable. With opening up with The Cure.
Such a great song.
It opens with The Cure, 9 Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine, Pantera. That soundtrack is amazing. Again, I would put Lost Boys and The Crow. Have we done favorite movie soundtracks?
I don't know if we did or not.
Because those are going to be in my top 5. Those two for sure. Yeah. Those are going to be in my top 5 movie soundtracks of all time. And obviously my favorite Halloween movies of all time. And number 1, I talked about it last week, and it's really hard to find. And I wanted to go look for it. And you can't get it anywhere. But the movie is called Trick or Treat. And I know they made one in the 90s. I'm talking about the one from 1986. Where Fastway does the soundtrack. Every single one of those songs is a banger. Now, I got to give it up to our buddy Mark Petruccelli. He pulled out his old DVD. He had one. He sent me a text in the middle of the week. He's like, God, you got me watching that movie, you idiots, listening to your dumb podcast. And he said that it's cheesy, like we talked about. It's funny. Don't know that there's titties, but you do get a little Ozzy, and you get Gene Simmons as a DJ in it. And you get a little backward masking, and the soundtrack is just unbelievable. It's just so hard to find. Mark Price was Skippy on Family Ties, And this was supposed to be his breakout movie. And he had lost some other roles. He was supposed to be on Can't Buy Me Love, and he lost that role. And he, there's all these stories of these people that lost out different roles. And this was supposed to be something that got him, launched into becoming a star, because look what was happening with Michael J. Fox. So they wanted, Skippy could be a poor man's Michael J. Fox, and he wasn't even that. But
No.
The movie Trick or Treat from 1986, I don't know where you can bootleg it. I don't know where you can find it. I can tell you that I didn't find it on any of the streaming services anywhere. So if you just can find it, I don't know if the whole movie's on YouTube or not. But if I remember, last week when we talked, because I introduced this movie last week,
Right.
we were talking a little Halloween. Had you never even heard of it?
When you mentioned, I'm like, it seems like I've heard of that, but I don't think I've ever seen it. Obviously I won't, but you'd think that a movie like that would get thrown up on Netflix or somewhere on one of the streaming services so that you could watch it. I mean, they're always starving for content unless there's just not a good copy of it. It's like, I can't imagine there's a lot of people fighting over the rights for it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, well, we've got this C-level movie that is from the 80s. Geez, I wonder how much we got to pay for that.
Trick or Treat, 1986, YouTube, 1 hour and 37 minutes. It's looking like this might be.
Oh, so you do have a way to watch it on YouTube. Like, is it one you got to buy through YouTube?
Nope.
This is just like a shit version of it.
I just pulled it up. As a matter of fact, it looks great. Most of you guys can now pull up YouTube on your televisions, on your smart TVs. And holy shit, the whole movie is right here in front of me. I have it on DVD, but I just don't think I have a DVD player plugged in anywhere.
Well, why would
anymore?
You? If you do, it doesn't work. I'm pretty sure.
There you go. I will post this everywhere that it needs to be posted. My number one movie is available to watch for free. With the hugeness of this podcast, we might be.
Oh, we're gonna set them over the top, man. They'll probably be able to monetize this now.
They've been flying under the radar, but now with the hugeness of this podcast, we may have shined a light on that, and the YouTube gods may come down. Dusk Till Dawn was the one that was really bubbling just outside of my top five. It's a fucking phenomenal movie. But none of my movies are jump scares. All of them are rock and roll. All of them are, the elements that I mentioned. So I have no interest in watching Halloweens, Pinheads, sawing your fucking foot off to get out of a room.
No, I
like none of it. I can't torture. The House at the End of the Hill or The Hills Have Eyes, any of these fucking inbred fucking people that come in and take advantage of a family. I can't watch it. I cannot watch that stuff. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't enjoy it. It makes me feel awful.
Yeah. You know what's a good one though? And this would fall into our world. And I don't know if you ever saw it. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994. Robert De Niro plays the monster, right?
Yeah.
It's really cool. I've seen it a few times over the years, and it's a great Halloween movie because I didn't really read the book, obviously, and I didn't know, when you think of Frankenstein, you think of, Rod with wooden shoes and a mask doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Or you think of the green guy with the bolts in his neck, and that's really not Frankenstein. So it's really I was shocked, and it's a really well done movie. So that one's a good one. Not going to scare you, Rod, too much. It's good. We didn't bring up the Scream movies. I've actually been watching the Scream movies kind of on and off here at the house. And the first one, I remember watching that the first time in the 90s going, holy fuck, this is messed up because it's scary.
Is it scary?
I mean, it's cheese. It's got titties. I think it's got titties. I don't remember now. But I remember watching it when it came out, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is really, because remember when it came out, everyone was like, you got to see Scream, dude. It's fucking badass. And it still holds up fairly well. I mean, there's some cheese. There's definitely some cheese now, and it's got some datedness to it, but it's still good.
In at my number 7 was Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I love that movie.
So just because Gary Oldman, right?
And titties.
And I never wanted to see Winona Ryder's titties more, and she never showed him in that movie. There's a ton of other ones, and there's a ton of opportunity. I've never really been that attracted to Winona Ryder.
That's awesome.
she just never really did it for me. She's always been like that goofy girl from Beetlejuice. But her in that movie, she looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And there are scenes where you get close, you think this is going to be it. Awesome. I want to see those warlocks. And then boom, they cut away and she never shows them. There's tons of other ones in there. Yeah, and Keanu Reeves, I love him. I'm full on team Keanu Nanu Reeves. But that guy can't fucking make up his mind on that accent. Like he just never got it down. And you could tell like he was just struggling the whole time. It's up there with Kevin Costner when he did, I think, Robin Hood.
Oh, yeah,
and
terrible.
Half the movie, he's not even fucking doing the accent. They're just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm sick of this. Let's just keep rolling. He's just talking like fucking
Kevin Costner.
He's talking like the Bull Durham or whatever. I never seen somebody go in and out of an accent like that. That was the worst ever. Keanu Reeves just cannot pull off that fucking accent.
It's a great movie, though. I mean, because
it's really good.
Dracula, Gary Oldman is fucking awesome in that movie.
Yep,
he's so great in that movie. Yeah. That's another one. I'm gonna put that on the list
because he's Vlad the Impaler, and it kind of tells you like the history, a little bit. So there's like a historical standpoint that comes to with the story, and then you'll just get so upset about Winona Ryder. It's just what a fucking letdown. God damn. I'm like, come on.
And now when you watch her in Stranger Things, you're like, ugh, no, thanks.
Yeah, she does nothing. I'm like, Hopper, you can have that. It's all yours.
That's gross now. She's like old mom, weird lady. Yeah. No, she's gross in that movie.
I was just never attracted to her. I just never, even when she did, I mean, the Singles. No, not Singles. What's the movie they made? It was here in Houston.
Oh, Reality Bites.
Reality Bites.
Yeah.
I just never was attracted to her for some reason. I don't know what it is.
You know what? This is fucking stupid. You'll probably never watch it because it's got Adam Sandler in Mr. Deeds, which I think is a funny fucking movie. She's in it. She's hot as hell in that movie. She is so hot in that movie, dude. You watch Mr. Deeds. It's funny, and she's smoking it. And by the way, no titties. So yeah.
What about where are you at with Hubie's Halloween?
I didn't want to watch it. My wife loves Adam Sandler, and I'm like, why do you fucking love this guy? He plays the same moron in every movie. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I can't stand this goofy accent and his stupid voices and stuff. And I remember watching it. I remember laughing a lot. I'm like, it's a pretty good story. I'm like, okay. And I've seen it the last 2 years for Halloween. We watch it. We'll probably watch it again this year because it's funny.
It's good background. Yeah. Halloween stuff, you know,
party.
Yeah. You know, at Christmas time when you're wrapping your gifts and you throw on a Halloween or you throw on a Christmas Story or, you know, a Christmas movie, any of them. And it's just not in the background, you know, because that's the time of year it is. I got to admit that Hubie's Halloween is not bad. It's not bad. I don't mind it at all. It would never be in a top 10 of mine on anything.
No.
But it's not bad.
Shit. There's some funny shit in it, man.
And all those guys, you know that they're all friends and stuff. And he's got the same characters and all the same people in all the movies. And it's good. It's not a bad movie at all. But those are the only two, just because it's not my genre. Bram Stoker and Dusk Till Dawn. I would have struggled to make a top 10. I would have struggled on a top 10, like Halloween scary movie thing.
Yeah. No, I'll have Halloween on at some point the next couple of days, and I'll have that on. But again, it's not something I need to watch, but it'll be on in the background because it's scary as shit, and it's got that look about it. It's not even a scary movie, but World War Z with Brad Pitt. Fucking, if that's on, I'll watch it. It's just zombies and shit. It's not really Halloween.
That movie.
It's good.
I saw that movie. Yep,
I really like that movie. And then. It's not Halloween, but it's creepy as fuck. And it's really gross. And I know you don't like it. It's not even a movie. It's a TV show. It's an episode in a TV series called The X-Files. The episode is called Home. Go dig that fucker up. It's all about these this is everything you hate. No titties, by the way. It's these inbred family who's got like the mom with no legs, no teeth under the bed, and they bang her and they keep squeezing out these inbred kids. It is so they wouldn't air. They aired it once and they wouldn't like X-Files was on repeat on all these different channels, and that was the episode they would never show again because it was so fucking twisted and creepy, and it's great.
We
If you don't
talked about
find it.
this when we did a morning show together. We used to talk about the episode Home all the time.
Ah, so great.
My mom used to love the X-Files. That episode, she goes, I'm done with the show. I'm done with this show. Because there's that fucking weird Johnny Mathis song that's playing.
Perfection.
And
Wonderful,
they get
wonderful.
And it's like he's banging his mom, and it's like he gets out of the car, and it's like they're just like, okay, we're just gonna, build a new family. And it's just the inbredness of everything.
It's so fucked up.
And I probably just on the printer at work or whatever, but I made my mom a Christmas card. And the episode is called Home. And it was a picture of these inbred brothers on the porch of a house. And that was the cover. And then on the inside, it said, can't wait to be home for the holidays.
Oh my God, what an asshole.
And my mom's like, you're an asshole. She's like, I don't go in for this. I don't go in for this. That's what she said. I don't go in for this.
Holy
and I said, well, I thought it was funny. And my sister thought it was funny. That absolutely stopped my mom from watching one of her favorite TV shows. She's like, I'm done. Yeah. That's it. No. Chris Carter, right?
Yeah, he created the whole series
like,
and stuff.
You went too far with that one.
It was great. Like
it became infamous because we were talking about it, because even when they would re-air on FX, that's the one they wouldn't air. And then I remember on Halloween or something, they were going to air it, and we made a big deal about it. Just the whole,
it's gross. It's just gross in a lot of ways. It's just awful.
It's the most ridiculous thing that's ever been on network television.
Has to be.
The episode Home, X-Files, is probably the show that got away with the most. Like you said, no titties, no swearing.
Thank God.
No swearing. Okay.
Yeah. Didn't need to.
No ass crack. But the subject matter is so disturbing.
Yep.
Of them. The mom is kept on a creeper. What you used to go
and change the tranny.
The old school guys used to go, and I don't even know why they didn't even have fucking wheels on it. They just had like these weird things that it would go under the car to change the oil. The mom is kept on this fucking creeper, and then boom, they bang her, and then they put her back under the bed, and they just.
God, did you almost throw up? Christ. Wow, we almost had a vomit on the podcast. It's got to be a first ever. It's so gross. But you know what? That's what makes, and look, the subject matter is awful. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that they pulled it off and the way they did it, you were just so creeped out. And the song was so like awesome. And it was like, you hear that song now and it still creeps you out. Like to this day, it still freaks me out. Home, you got to watch that shit, man. That is, we didn't really sell it very well, but it's so great. It is such a great episode. That's good TV. Again, you don't have to love the subject matter, but it's so riveting and suspenseful and just fucked up.
So what they didn't have years ago, and I believe this whole genre was created after Two Girls, One Cup, when that video came out.
Right.
That was the first time I ever saw.
Wait. Mom, if you're listening, do not Google that.
Yeah, don't go to Two Girls, One Cup.
Do not.
But what also came from that video were reaction videos where you weren't even watching Two Girls, One Cup. You were just watching somebody watching Two Girls, One Cup. And then that became a whole genre of videos on YouTube after that. Now we have vocal coaches listening to music and they're reacting to it. But I'm looking, there are multiple reaction videos of people watching Home, X-Files. And it's just them reacting to what they're seing. I did a quick little Google search of X-Files Home. It looks like you can see it. It's season 4. It's episode 2. And it's kind of looking like you're going to have to pay.
Oh, sure. Because they know Amazon out there.
Amazon Prime, Hulu, Apple TV. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, I know what I'm watching tonight, dude. It's gonna be wonderful.
Johnny Mathis song.
Love that song.
You hear the song and you just know that these inbred motherfuckers are coming.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
The Johnny Mathis song is the da-dun, 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 dun, 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 dun. When you hear Johnny Mathis, it's just shit's about to fucking not be chill.
Yeah. It's gonna be gross.
Yeah, there's just sons having sex with their mom.
That's why you have to recognize, again, the subject matter is awful, but the genius of this episode is the way they put it together to really give you the fucking creeps. It's so great. Silence of the Lambs doesn't count. That's just a fucked up movie, right?
I think it's a scary movie. I think it's one of the great on-screen villains of all time.
Right. It's disturbing.
I wouldn't give you a hard time. When you look at the great on-screen villains of all time, he's one of them, right?
I would say so, yeah.
But then so is Darth Vader, and so is the shark in Jaws. So those clearly aren't Halloween movies. But Lecter, I think you could put in there. I mean, it's that time of year to watch that shit.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do some watching now, man. I got some shit to cover because I'm gonna have to bust out The Crow. I'm gonna have to bust out Home. I gotta find that because it's been a minute since I've seen that.
I will put up a link to Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat. I love it. Not bad. I mean, you got two guys who don't really give a shit about Halloween movies and not really into it, but yet there's going to be guys with, oh, you forgot about this, you forgot about that. Yeah, we didn't even touch the Freddy movies or any of that shit, but it's just not my wheelhouse either, man. I mean, there's suspense to that. Friday the 13th, the Jason masks, the hockey mask guy. Is that him? I don't even know.
It's fucking Jason. Yes.
Yeah, I should know that one, I suppose.
You should kind of know that one.
You think I would, but I don't watch those. It's like, once you start getting down to that whole, like, oh, look, it's teenagers in the woods and they're all going to die. They're all going to die. But in those movies, titties. So, you take the good with the bad, I suppose. Rod, that's all I got. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. It's just kind of come up, and it's again one of these this time of year. I'm not buying in on ghosts. I had a guy at a ghost hunter on the air with me, and I'm just a non-believer. The whole fucking Ouija board thing. I was the guy that was moving it. I just think it's one of those things that you want to believe. If you want to believe, then those are the people that have seen a ghost. I've never seen anything that even came close to being a ghost. Then you talk to some wingnut like my co-host, where she said that she was in a room with the ghost for 2 hours. I'm like, 2 hours? Most of the people, the crazy people that I talk to, they see a ghost for half of a second or something. She claims that this one was just hanging out for 2 hours and wants to talk about it with me. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying any of it. Okay. You orb fucking weirdos. That's a speck of dust that hit the flash. It's not your grandma or your nana or your meemaw. It's not a fucking orb, okay? It's a dust particle that is reflecting the flash in the picture.
Yeah.
I've got guys sending me photographs of ghosts, and there are still people out there that will pay millions of dollars for proof of the afterlife. If you're sitting on a picture, go get the money. The end of story. That's it with the ghost with me. If it's real, if you've got the proof, you want to send me a picture of the ghost. I had a guy sends me the same picture every year. There's a ghost in the back picture of this, his aunt and whatever. They're like, there was nobody there that age. There was nothing. Look at this, Rod. Then send it in. Go get your money, dude. There are people that will offer $1 million proof of the afterlife. If you've got the picture, man, go collect. I don't believe it. I don't believe any of it. You die, you die.
Interesting take on the ghosts, man. Wow. You don't make friends at Halloween with that theory, do you, at all? Holy shit. You must be
a non-believer.
It's funny because I live in one of the most haunted cities in the country, if not one of the most haunted cities in the world, according to all the ghost tours that are out there, right? And, you know, in New Orleans, you know, you go to certain bars and they all got, oh man, the ghosts are here. Oh, this is where somebody hung themselves. And sometimes at night you could see their body dangling off the balcony from the rope, you know, and you hear all the stories. Or, you know, you get, because we've got a lot of old hotels, boutique hotels, smaller old super hotels that are, you know, the buildings were built in the early 1800s. And then you get the stories of like, well, when I left this morning, my drawer was closed, but when I came back, it was opened.
Come on.
You hear all that shit, and it's like ghosts, this, ghosts, that. And then, you know, you see the pictures, and people always show me pictures and the orbs and stuff. And I say the same thing that you say. I'm like, hey, you know how photography works, right? There's shit floating in the air. A flash in the nighttime, it's going to mess up with your shit. Sorry, don't believe them either. Yeah, I'm on team no ghost, Rod. And I've been in New Orleans for over 26 years now, 25 years, whatever it has been. I've been hammered. I've been not hammered. I've been stone cold sober in all these haunted places. You know what I've seen? Just drunk people, man. There's always a logical solution behind your little ghost story, dude. There always is. There always has been. There always will be. You know why the drawers are open? Because these houses in New Orleans are old as fuck and they're all crooked. Gravity is opening your drawer, dopey.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The cabinet doors, that's called gravity, stupid. You know, in a bad hinge. It's not, you like you said, it's not your grandmother opening the door to let you know she's in the room watching you. No, there are no ghosts. And it's funny because I get that question a lot. Hey, you see any ghosts? No, I'm a fucking grown up. Sorry, I'm a fucking grown man. I read books occasionally. There aren't any, man.
Yeah,
Blackbeard. I will prove
standing right next to you.
I will prove there are no ghosts. I've done research. You ready?
Please.
I bet, you know what? I guarantee you've done the research. I bet most of the people listening to this podcast has done the same exact research and has the same proof that I have. Okay. You've seen every episode of Scooby-Doo, right? Over the years, cartoons. You've seen them all.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do they do? They chase ghosts, right? That's their thing. At the end of every single episode,
They show you.
It's an asshole in a mask. There you go. There's
Meddling
your
kids.
proof, scientifically proven by a dog who is now dead. Now, in case you aren't watching this on YouTube, you should know that we've had multiple changeovers throughout the episode. We've now got a pair of sharp, not children's rounded tip scissors, I'm pretty sure. These are going to be the adult stabby kind. They're now stabbed halfway into your cranium, Rod. So
I've got scissors in my head.
it's a good look.
I also have my all-time favorite Halloween movie in all its glory on the Playpants Facebook page, Trick or Treat 1986. Bro, every song is a fucking banger. It's Fastway's fourth album. Their fourth album is the movie soundtrack. It is awesome. And it's the last one they did with that original lead singer. The guy that later went with the Dropkick Murphys, right? Or no, not the Dropkick Murphys. He went with the other band. Shit.
Flogging Molly.
Thank you.
You're doing Irish bands there? Is that what you're doing? Okay.
Good save.
Gotcha. I'm here to help, dude. That's why I'm here. It's not because I'm handsome. It's because I'm here to help. All right. Go bust out your Johnny Mathis, Rod. The Playpants podcast brought to you by Pirates of the Quarter. Tours in New Orleans. Check out piratesofthequarter.com. And hurry up. What are you waiting for? Get to the Rod Ryan Show page at thebuzz.com right now. The last week, the Rod Ryan Show Care Store is open. Get your Boobs Rock merchandise right now. Stop the podcast. Go to thebuzz.com, get your shirt, and then restart the podcast. All right, let's get it done.
And then go to our Facebook page and watch Trick or Treat and see why it's my favorite Halloween movie of all time.
And then after that, go watch the episode of The X-Files called Home and then report back to us because you'll be barfing. It's going to be great.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Have a happy Halloween.
Boo.
Boo.
Let's go. It's time. Put on Playpants.
Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. See us on our YouTube channel and follow our social media pages at Playpants Pod.